This program is brought to you by Pussy Magnets.
Put a midge on your fridge with a pussy magnet.
Oh, hey! Welcome, 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 my lovely lumps. Or should I say lovely labs? I don't know, they're both good. I'm so thrilled to have you here in the Labia Lounge to yarn about all things sexuality, womanhood, holistic health, and everything in between. Your legs. Oh, cringe. I couldn't help myself. Anyway, I am your host, Freya Graff, and I am a holistic sex coach and educator and yoni mapping therapist. So basically, I make my living massaging vaginas and teaching people about sex. Yeah, pretty cool. So as you can imagine, we are going to have vag loads of real chats with real people about real shit. So buckle up, you're about to receive the sex ed that you never had and have a bloody good laugh while you're at it. Before we get stuck in though, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Menang people. It's an absolute privilege to be living and creating dope podcast content on Noongar country, and I pay respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Now, if y'all are ready, let's flap and do this. Oh, is there such thing as having too many vagina jokes in the one intro? Whatever. I'm leaving it in. It's my podcast.
Don't panic, you're not broken. Your sex education was a piece of shit. Get your flaps out and pull up the couch. It's the Labia Lounge.
Alrighty, my little TMI gremlins. Welcome back to part 2 of Battle of the Exes. This is a TMI story, battle royale, not to be missed. If you didn't listen to part 1 last week, I'd highly recommend jumping back and listening to that for a bit of context, and just so that you don't miss all of the amazing and juicy chats and stories that we covered in that epi that this one follows on from. But if you're just going to leap in right now, right here, that's also okay. No context necessary. I think you'll still get a lot of lols out of this, and probably by the end have developed such a taste for it that you'll go back and listen to that first epi anyway. So get stuck into it.
TMI, we love it. TMI, we love it.
Okay, so I was doing a guy's garden like last year earlier this year in Brisbane, and they had fucking pumpkins out the wazoo. So they gifted me a pumpkin, and I was like, sick, I saw it as just like, this is food, and then got it home, and then I was like, I don't even want that. Like, I don't even want to eat that. And like, so like, I feel like a lot of pumpkins do this. They just kind of hang around the house for a long time because they don't show obvious signs of going bad for some time, and so they're not sitting there like reminding you like, you gotta fucking eat me. It's like, it's a pumpkin, it'll just be hanging out. Yeah, totally. They just fucking keep hanging out. So there was this one day where I think I finally recognized that this pumpkin wasn't important to me as food. I was like, well, I'm going to make like fuck tons of pumpkin soup. I guess that would be an option, but I devised a better use for the pumpkin, right? So,
Oh my God.
So Jess, my then partner, was at work and I was at home, just kind of like come into the kitchen, and I'm just like seeing the pumpkin in a new light. So I get out a kitchen knife and I bore a hole in it. I preheat the oven, and I get the pumpkin. I sort of like slather the orifice that I've made with I think it was just coconut oil, whatever oil was on hand, whatever was nearest, and chucked it in the oven for like half a 45, just to sort of take the woodiness out of it. And then when it was
Totally. Yeah, you don't want any of those edges.
And then when it was ready, I took it to the bedroom and I fucked it.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah,
Shit.
totally. It's just like, I'm going to put my dick in something
Wow.
kind of behavior. But I was like, the potential here, like a pumpkin. And the thing about it was that it was actually great because, it was like weighty, like it could have been like a 6 kilo pumpkin, And so I laid out like a towel on the bed, like doubled over and, got some more oil involved and then just like fucked it. And it like bounces off the bed. It gives like the same sort of like physical kind of bounce back that you get if you were like, if you were having sex with someone who was lying face down, like the prone bone, I believe it's called. It would just bounce back into me. And it was actually like this, like it was actually like I was fucking the pumpkin. I wasn't using the pumpkin to masturbate as much as I was actually fucking the pumpkin. And so then when everything was sort of finished up, I'm like lying there glistening with sweat.
Did you eat your cum out of the pumpkin?
Let me get to that. I'm lying there. Me and the pumpkin are sharing a cigarette. And I was like, we've established at this point that I'm not really squeamish about eating my own cum. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll just like, I can't put this pumpkin with this like oiled up hole in it back in the kitchen and just be like, yeah, we'll eat it at some point. So I cut it up into like chunks that would be appropriate for roasting. And at that point, being completely exhausted and not interested in going through that whole process, I just put it in a plastic container and put it in the fridge. Got rid of the section that was like,
oh my God.
No, don't worry. Got rid of the section that had the hole in it, the incriminating bit. The thing about it is that when I cut into it, I couldn't find my load anywhere. And I was just like, has the pumpkin absorbed my cum?
Oh.
Has it just like it was in the kind of the seedy, the seed kind of mushiness on the inside? No sign of cum.
Yeah.
Completely gone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, have I impregnated this pumpkin? It's like absorbed my cum. Anyway, so the chopped up pumpkin just remained in the container in the fridge. I just kind of forgot about it. And then could have been like a couple of weeks later, Jess is like, calling out from the kitchen. She's just going through the fridge and she's like, we doing anything with this pumpkin? And I'm like, nah, just chuck it. And I was at the market on Saturday and just getting some organic produce. And there's these pumpkins on the ground, like, next to the fruit and veg stand. And I'm just like, kind of like, I don't know, like the way that you might sort of feel if you were in the presence of someone that you had some sort of secret rendezvous with, like, it was like, pumpkin, we can't be seen in public together.
Yeah.
No, it was a one-time thing.
No direct eye contact. Just like... Okay, I have 2 follow-up questions. Firstly, did you measure the circumference of your dick to make sure the hole in the pumpkin was the right size? Because obviously you didn't want it to be too cavernous or too small. Or did you just like eyeball that and it worked out
I eyeballed
miraculously?
it and it worked out fine. Yeah, it was like, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Do you want to know more?
Did you tell Jess about this?
No, I never did. I think it would have.
I reckon you should one day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, in fact, I think I will. I think it was just like, I don't know,
Too
like
fresh.
I couldn't.
Too fresh.
Yeah, like I didn't have the energy to field and actually it's really strange because I'm usually so happy to do something like that, but I think that that maybe Jess's reactions to some of my behaviors like that are slightly more on the disgusted side of the spectrum and less on the amused side. And I'm really aiming for like straight down the center. Like it's got to be like we got to be able to laugh about it.
Yeah.
And she would laugh about it, but I don't know. I guess I didn't want to, but I definitely will tell her.
Okay, here's my theory. I think it's because, one, it's one of those stories that, like, when it's just happened, it's a little bit fresh. It's definitely, like, way funnier if you tell someone in hindsight when it's all kind of cooled out, the pumpkin's long gone. It's not still fucking in your fridge with your absorbed cum. And what happened is that you didn't eat your cum afterwards, so you were so depleted you didn't have the energy to face that conversation, which is so fair enough. You'd missed out on your daily dose of, you know, the zinc and all the things. Anyway,
that was it. That was it. I didn't get into it while it was hot, which actually makes me think something I wanted to say earlier. You were talking about saving the piss in the jar for when you're going to shower later. And then it's like cold piss, and how it's like there's something so much more offensive about that. Because, like, you know.
Oh, cold jizz is. Bleh.
No, fuck that. Like, don't want to fucking barf it. And it goes cold, like, real quick, you know. You got to get it while it's hot. And, you know, after cutting the pumpkin open and, like, finding that it was just seeds, it was like, I would have been choking down, like, a bunch of just fucking pepitas, I guess, and that could have been okay, but they weren't like roasted or whatever the fuck they do to them to make them so like fun to eat. Yeah. They were just covered in my cum, which wasn't enough to entice me.
Oh my God, that was really good. That you are pulling out all the stops. Like, I was like not sure. I was like, oh, I'm sure I'll know some of these stories and others will be like pretty predictable, like, or at least not surprising, but like, nah, you've completely surprised me. But I mean, why is it only women who get to use fruit and vegetables as masturbatory aids, you know?
That's my thoughts exactly. Yeah, totally. And kind of more in that sort of realm. I mean, I think that we couldn't really say that. It wouldn't be fair to say that society smiles more upon, like, you know, a woman's pleasure than they do a man's. But there does seem to be this weird sort of disparity when it comes to, like sex aids and stuff, masturbatory aids, where it's like, if someone with a vulva has a dildo, it's kind of like, hey, you got a dildo. It feels like it's kind of normal. But then, like, you know, I bought a fleshlight, like, I think I told you about this actually, like probably a month ago. And it's something I wanted to do for so long, but there's like this weird kind of, you know, like it's not okay to do that or something. And like, that's completely on men. I'm not blaming society so much as just like dudes being like, what are you, like, it's kind of like, why don't you just get laid? Can't you get laid? And it's like, come off it. Like, everyone's jacking off all the time. Like, now I'm just doing it in style, you know? Now I'm spending $100 on this thing. And like, and it's no different from someone, I guess, you know, vulva or no, like owning a dildo, because you can get one to your bum hole, which I suppose everyone has just about.
Indeed.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
I got a fleshlight, and I'm proud.
God, maybe you can use the fleshlight while you do the McSavage Big Brekkie tomorrow morning, and take a selfie for us with like.
Sorry, no, I'm just like 100% because it would. I mean, I don't know how I go with the shitting, but there's something that I do with it where, to kind of better simulate sex. I'm on a big TMI fucking I'm a TMI spree right now.
Love it.
But what I'll do is I'll get the fleshlight and I'll sandwich it between the bed base and the mattress, so it's kind of held there like at approximately groin level, and I can just kind of have sex with it into the bed, which would free up both my hands to rip a bong. But I don't know how I'd go taking a shit in my bedroom.
Doing it on the dunny.
Yeah, like you want to do it on the dunny.
Let's not. Fuck yeah! I don't know how you'd get around that. You might need a friend. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it the details to you, but if you do manage to pull it off, please let us know. We are all very invested and want to be kept in the loop. Wow, that's fucking blown me out of the water. What have I got? Let me just well, I've got a fair few. Lockie's got good ones. I'm just going to tell another one of Lockie's because they're just so good. So Quickfire, he was like in his uni days, I think, just one of those like filthy, rotty little boys who don't wash their sheets. Probably don't actually have sheets, let's face it. And he would just have like the same pillow slip on for so fucking long. And he was banging this chick and like put the pillow under her bum so that, you know, to raise the pelvis because it's a better angle. We've all done it. It's a
Classic
great little
sex
tip.
lord move.
But yeah. And she, I guess, I don't know, her bum like smudged around on it a bunch because he slept on that pillow and got pink eye off it. Like, and this happened like more than once. I was like, bro, wash your pillow. And then another one of his that I love, which is just too good and mortifying. Like if it happened to me, oh God. So he was like at a party and pretty drunk, you know, probably uni days as well, and was outside on this couch, like hooking up with this chick, like started going down on her, was kind of like kneeling on the deck and she was on the couch, I think. And he did a little vomit, and basically felt it come up and into his mouth, and just like suctioned his mouth around her vulva to sort of seal the edges, and just had to swallow the vomit down again. And then that made him vomit again. It happened like 3 times, and he just had to like keep swallowing his own vomit and like sucking it off her pussy and just carrying on. Otherwise she would have known that he'd like boffed on her box.
And what if she's like, oh my God, what's this technique he's using? What even is that? And meanwhile, he's just like repeatedly throwing up and slurping his vomit off her. I mean, that might feel amazing. Like the fact that it's vomit is obviously like, you know, like that terrifies me. That's, you know, I mean, it's a safe TMI space, and like, you know, what people get up to is completely fine. But it probably would horrify anyone to know that that's vomit that's going on their vulva. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Fabulous story. I was just like, what the fuck? You are so full of these. So that was... Please interject if you have one while I scroll through my other ones.
Well, I've got one that's not so much like a story as much as it is a concept that I want to bring to the table and discuss with you, which is that it has long been my opinion that the kind of lubrication that occurs inside a vagina when they're on their period, when the person's on their period, it's like the combination of like the usual kind of lubrication that's there that comes up like when they're aroused, combined with like the viscosity of like the menstrual blood. Just, I'm like fucking way into it. Like it feels like it's like a different sort of friction to it. There's something to it that's just like fucking awesome. And I just wanted to, I like, what do you think about that? Are you into that? Is that?
Well, I guess it's different for me because like I don't have a penis. I'm kind of in the reciprocal role there. But so actually, like it's surprising to know this, but your menstrual phase of the cycle is actually quite a dry one in terms of like natural vaginal lubrication and cervical mucus, I think because you are bleeding, so there's already this other fluid coming through. And just because of what your hormones are doing, like it's kind of a dry period. But that's kind of like made up for by the blood. So the blood can act as like a lubrication, and it's like really viscous, like slippery. It's mixed with cervical mucus. So the blood is not like just regular blood. Like if you cut yourself, it's way more viscous and slimy. And I have heard other people with penises really enjoy it. Well, everyone seems to enjoy it. That are into it is, people that are into it are fucking into it. And actually, I just had a guest on, Tamika Wilder, who goes by the Orgasmic Mama. We just recorded an episode this morning, so it might be coming out either last week or next week. But her TMI story was all about how she just fucking froths period sex, and she made slurpy noises. It was very funny. And yeah, it's like, and actually that fucking reminds me of this is the perfect segue to play a TMI story that a listener sent in. And it's about period sex, and I'm just going to scroll through my phone and try to find it. Here we go. And I'm just going to try to play it through the mic. Let me see. So she's snuck into her boyfriend's tent and she's got her period. Here we go.
When he saw me, he pulled my pants down and I told him that I was on my period, but he didn't care. And he just got my tampon tail in between his teeth and he just pulled it out and then just flung it with his mouth outside of the tent. And it got me right off. And it was one of the hottest things. I probably argue the hottest thing that, or the hottest experience that I've had. And I think it was just because he was clearly didn't give a fuck and was so ravenous for me and did not care at all that I had been sitting in a car for 4 hours and this tampon was pretty bled through. Yeah, it was really hot. I'm telling you this while I'm sitting on the toilet, which is probably also TMI. Just finished number 2. I finished it before I started talking to you. But anyway, I'm all about the TMI. And I love your motivation for doing this. And yeah, that is my story. And it's really fucking hot. And now ever since, I have just really raved on about period sex because there is something so fucking magnificent and adoring about being with someone and wanting to fucking devour them despite being on their period. So hot. So what a fucking guy. And to this day, I still, he kind of fucking ruined me. And now I have this bar of, if you are not willing to fucking mung out on my bleeding vagina, then, what are you doing with your life? And what are you even with me for? It's really set the bar. And he was so fucking good at dirty talk, just so descriptive, all the details. And I will say that the way that it affected me is that now I approach my sexual interactions with people through a lens of, I'm gonna fucking just eat all of you. I want all of you in my mouth. When that is eating pussy, I just want it all on my face and just want to be, just chowing down on all the things. And and buttholes too, male or female, or anything in between. I just want clean, has to be very clean, but clean buttholes in my mouth. I have a mug that my husband made for me about grooming. Because I'm very passionate about putting these things in my mouth, and every part of my lovers, partners, I want them all in my mouth. And another body part, armpits. It's just something really fucking deep about putting the parts of other people in our mouths that are stigmatized, that we are taught are smelly or dirty or wrong or naughty or whatever. And there's just something so fucking liberating and loving about putting all of that in our mouths and devouring it hungrily. So that was his lasting impression on me, and I'm really fucking grateful for that, because it just feels so good to give and receive that kind of energy.
Woo! Damn.
Fuck
That
yeah.
was
Oh my
good.
God.
There's a lot in there.
That's inspiring. I love that. That's so good. I fucking, yeah, that just energy of like fucking like all decency out the window. I must have you. I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of like your screening sort of criteria being like, you know, you've got to let me suck my own jizz off your body. She's like, if you're not going to mung down on my bloody vagina, what are you doing with your life? Love that line.
Yeah, she was like, what are you here for? As though it's like the central attraction of her. Like, if you're not here for the 4-hour car trip old tampon vagina, then I don't know what you could possibly see in me.
I don't get it.
That's great. That was really beautiful.
Oh my God. Yeah, really, really good. That's a friend of mine. She's, pretty phenomenal. And obviously gets around stuff like super hard. And there is something so special about someone who, like, you know, I had people send in stories about getting their period and then being afraid to tell their partner or this or that happening, and then their partner just responding really beautifully about it and being like, what do you mean? That's no big deal. Like, let's fucking go. And it's just like, yeah, great. That's how it should be, ideally, or at least some of the time. You need to have some experiences of someone like just not treating your body like it's this gross sort of unsanitary thing that they want to stay away from if it's doing like anything unpredictable, or, you know, I think we get really conditioned to feel like bodies are super gross, genitals are gross, discharge is gross, it's all gross. And so I think it's really cool when people just totally like shirk that and are like, I'm gonna eat my own jizz, I'm gonna fucking suck back some period blood, I'm gonna like drink my beers. I mean, you're ticking a lot of boxes here.
Yeah, it's like, it's something, yeah, I feel like I've experienced that kind of vibe a couple of times where, I mean, it hasn't necessarily been that, you know, someone has like ravenously wanted like my body when it's, you know, not in a hygienic state or something, but it's more just experiencing someone taking a complete lack of offense to my body and just being completely like, you know, just not offended by, you know, if I've got like, you know, just like a day old dick
Smelly
or something, or like, or a smelly belly button. That's it. You know, someone just being like, being like, you know, you can still say like, you know, you should clean your belly button.
Yeah, but remember when you had that boil in your belly button?
Yeah, when I had some sort of belly button infection. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was so stinky.
Yeah, it was fucking rank. It was bad.
I did not.
I wasn't taking care of myself properly. No, yeah,
No.
totally, absolutely. You couldn't be blamed. There was a lot of things wrong with that picture. But yeah, just when someone is unoffended by your body and it's just like fucking pure medicine, you know, it's just like, I'm all right then. Like, I'm fine. And like, and especially if you can just have that consistently over a sexual relationship, it's like such a beautiful thing. And then suddenly you're just walking around like nothing's actually wrong with my body. That's like what I have with like the scars on my chest, which are probably a bit more crazy now than the last time you saw them. But, yeah, like
scars.
There's something, yeah, keloid scars. So for anyone listening and not, who can't have a visual, they're just like raised scars. And, like naturally they're a real shock to have on your body. It's like just because they're unusual and and you know, I've had surgeries and I've gone through these whole massive processes to kind of get rid of them at times, and it's been pretty painful and pretty hard. But in the last few years, you know, I've had partners or even just people near me, just look at them and be like, at worst, fascinated and like never disgusted or horrified, like finding them really interesting or finding them actually kind of cool or beautiful or something. And yeah, it's like, it's really helped me with my own body. I'm just like, fuck it. I actually think I'm probably not even going to bother with anything to do with treating them in the future. I'll just leave them because they're fine and they're just part of my skin.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember being like super into them. I the more I fell in love with you, the more endeared I was to them, and I ended up thinking they were like these really cute little things that like made your body unique and identifiable. And not that need to identify your body without
in a crowd,
a face on it or something.
Yeah,
but like I don't know, it was just this like unique thing, and so you know I got around it. And yeah, I totally agree. It's so fucking healing. It is medicine when someone just completely, just isn't repulsed by you. Because I feel like, you know, often we're repulsed by our own bodies. I was really repulsed by my own body, by any kind of genitals, like, and the thing that like got me over that the most in the beginning was like people. I remember this dude I was hooking up with at like a tantra training. He was like this sort of tantric guru dude, and he just loved licking my armpits. He was like, "Don't wear deodorant. I want to smell your essence." And then and then like also would be like, "Don't wipe after you wee because I just want to like go down on you and just devour you all." And I was like, ew, gross, like so not into that, but also like kind of cool because now I don't have to feel like it took me ages to get around that mental block of feeling gross, but you can't really just hang on to that when someone is so obviously like, give me your like fluids and I want to kill you and I want you dirty. Like you just have to be like, all right, fuck, well, you know, at least one person is into this, so it can't be that gross. And that really helped me a lot.
Maybe
and
it's
then also,
not
like,
objectively gross.
My own pussy juice. Yeah, exactly. Which is just nice to like get that feedback so that you can start healing that relationship with yourself and like not feeling as though you're repulsive, which I did. And I know a lot of people do. A lot of people are worried about what their pussy smells like, what they taste like, all of this stuff. And it's like, just what a bummer being in our heads about that stuff all the time and being so self-conscious and worried about the other person's experience. And more often than not, the other person is way into the experience they're having. And it's mostly our own kind of rejection of our bodies and our own perceptions of it being gross that like get in the way of us enjoying that, you know? It took me years to let anyone go down on me as well because I was just like, no fucking way, so gross. I don't want anyone to smell me or see me or like anything. It was just all like, whoa, yuck, no way, vagina, ugh. So, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Babe Towns. So sorry to interrupt, but I simply had to pop my head into the lounge here and mention another virtual lounge that you've seriously got to get around. It's the Labia Lounge Facebook group that I've created for listeners of the poddy to mingle in, and there you'll find extra bits and bobs like freebies or discounts for offerings from guests who've been interviewed on the podcast, inspiring and valuable content, thought-provoking conversations, and just general support from a community of labial legends. It's a safe, non-judgmental space where you can go to ask the questions that you can't ask anywhere else, seek advice or solidarity from other like-minded folk, tell stories that are usually too much for the average conversation, and also play a role in shaping the podcast with your input. So through this group, you can submit stories that you'd like me to read out for the TMI Sand in My Clam and Get Pregnant and Die segments. And as well, you can send in questions or topics that you would like covered on the poddy. I'm always open to suggestions and input, and you never know, you might hear your story on an episode. So my vision for the group is that it becomes a really rewarding, supportive, educational, and hilarious resource for you to access and be a part of. So head over to the link in the show notes or just search up the Labia Lounge group on the old Facey, and I hope I see you in there. And now, back to the episode. Yeah, so in that story, I don't know if you heard, she mentioned that she's so into rimming that her partner made her a mug about rimming. I fucking want to see that. Maybe I'll get a photo. I'm going to write a note. I'm going to message her and say, can I see a photo of the mug? Because I have a mug of my own. Oh, my God, you've got it. Okay, shit. Oh, God. Let me write this down so I don't forget. Yeah, well, the story of that mug with a very close-up visceral photo of my anus is that Lockie and I have been engaged in a bit of a brown eye war from like the moment we started dating. We pretty much were just always like being silly and playful and like trying to kind of spring each other with like a surprise moony or like brown eye. And we kind of, I'm pretty sure like the first time he told me he loved me was like when I had just gotten him so good. Like he was lying down in the living room, just all relaxed, and I'd been in the kitchen making us cups of tea or whatever, and there was like curtains in between the two rooms. And I was just like, hey, Lockie. And I'd kind of line my butthole up and like spread my cheeks. And I like, when he looked, I whipped the curtain aside and just gave him a full brown eye. And he was just so shocked and also enamored. He told me he loved me for the first time, which is pretty cool. But anyway, it just sort of started this whole thing where we were trying to one up each other. And I am like hands down winning because I get pretty creative and possibly like fixated and competitive stuff because it's funny. But like, you know, for example, we'd be doing our grocery shopping in Coles in like Northcote in Melbourne, and I'd be down one end of the aisle and we'd walk past, like I could see down the aisle, like he was at the other end and we're both walking in the same direction. So I'd like run into the next aisle and then just like drop my dacks and brown eye him from the end of the Coles or Woolworths aisle. And like, yeah, it was a fun time. And then I can't remember any of the ways he got me, probably because they were so anticlimactic compared to my pure genius. But he's going to be listening to this like, you bitch. I'm sure there was some good moments. I'm sure he had some good moments, but it paled in comparison to mine because my commitment to the bit is like second to none. And so, you know, a year into our relationship, this has been going on for a while, and I got my new housemate that I just met to like take a really close up photo of my butthole, and I got to put on a mug by Vistaprint, ordered it online, and
I pity the poor person who had to handle that and put it in a box.
I know. So it's so funny when you make personalized gifts like that, and because it's definitely not the first time I've done something like that. And yeah, I think about the person in the warehouse or whatever. But and it's also so funny. I don't know if you've ever ordered like business cards or merch or stickers or something from one of those sites that does a whole bunch of different printing, but you put your design on the template and then at checkout they suggest a whole bunch of other, they're like, would you like a personalized pen or a business card or a flyer or maybe a calendar? And they give you these like photo examples of what your image would look like on all these different bits of merch. So there was just this whole page of like butthole merch, and I was like, oh my God, it's so tempting. But yeah, anyway, I got the mug in the mail and got his morning coffee from the cafe, brought it to him in bed because we're cute like that and we do that for each other sometimes. And then and oh yeah, and on one side of the mug was my close-up asshole, which on this mug it was really glossy and glistening and it looked kind of wet. It was so gross. I was like, whoa, does my asshole look like that? Is confronting. You know, little like curly black hairs and shit, and I was like, whoa. Anyway, and then on the other side of the mug there it is. Oh God, you can't see super clearly, but thank God. But anyway, there's my butthole mug, and it's got ya written on the other side of it. So he there's that side, and and he drank his morning coffee, and then like realized that it said got ya, and then yep, there's a butthole on it. Anyway, and then I don't know why I was telling Max about this, but turns out I just sent him one recently as well. You can just reorder that shit. So now. Well, Max actually asked for a fanny pack from my merch. You should check out all the Labia Lounge merch. It's pretty good. And he asked for this specific fanny pack. you know, because he's made me all these beautiful jingles and like put in all this time. And I was like, oh my God, of course I will send you one. Actually, I've got to order that. But then I just sent him a butthole mug instead because it's funny.
Do you remember the thing about that was that, so the day that my fleshlight arrived, so this was a few weeks ago now, maybe almost a month ago. The day the fleshlight arrived, I like get it and like, you know, I've got these 2 boxes there and I've got the larger one that I knew what that was. The small one, I was like, this must be like, you know, the lube or something. You know, it seems like a kind of oddly shaped box for lube. And I take it all inside and I've been keen for this moment for like weeks, like since I'd ordered it. I was like, fucking hell, it's going to be amazing. Like finally I'm going to experience this thing. Spoilers, it's got nothing on like a living vagina, but it's still pretty good. Anyway, good I took it into the room and I crack it out and I'm like, okay, it's interesting, you know, kind of like prodding the strange kind of material that it's made out of. And so I got that out and I was like, all right, so what's this other box? At this point, I'm like, I'm barring up, like I'm fucking like, I'm going to have sex with this fleshlight. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I'm like, what's in here though? Open up this box. It's this fucking visceral picture of Freya's anus on a fucking mug. And it was just like my dick like shot up into my body. It shot into my body so abruptly that it popped out inverted out of my anus. And I was just like, I don't think that I can masturbate right now. Because it's so on brand for you, because it is funny. It also is just like slightly on the edge of like, oh. It's like,
yeah,
at this
that
point,
is on brand for me.
Yeah.
A little bit
I'm
fucked up.
desensitized to it now a little bit. Like I use it as my because I couldn't possibly bring this thing to my mouth. I use it as like a for watercolors, just like my Are you offended?
I'm a little bit offended. Yeah, what the fuck, bro?
Look.
It's fine,
I can
it's fine,
barely
it's fine.
handle
It's
this
totally fine.
fucking
You don't
thing.
have to drink from it.
No, but it lives on my desk. It's getting so much more use this way because if I go to the cupboard to make a cup of tea and I'm just trying to fucking chill out and drink a cup of tea, I'm probably not going to reach for the anus mug. But this way, it actually is getting so much more use than it would otherwise, and it lives on my desk where I unfortunately have to look at it every day. Until it doesn't offend the eye.
I'm satisfied. Yeah, goodo. It seems like it's getting more use than the one in our fucking house. But at one point, Lockie was living in a share house and he had it in the cupboard, and like the mother of the chick living in the share house was just drinking out of it in her morning coffee and was like so unfazed. And I was like, wow, that must have been a sex positive household to grow up in. It's really nice. Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Excuse this unseemly interruption, my darlings. I must ask a wee little favour of you. I'm shamelessly seeking reviews and 5-star ratings for the poddy because, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, it's pretty fab, and the more people who get to hear it, the more people it can help. Reviews and ratings make it more likely to get recognised by the algorithmic gods and suggested to other listeners to check out. Plus, they make me feel pretty good and appreciated as I continue to pour my heart and soul into creating this baby for you. Now, I promise I don't mazz over them or anything like that. I mostly just read them out to Locke with a big grin on my face, and he says something like, "See, you're killing it. Proud of you, babe." And then I tuck it away for a rainy day when I'm filled with self-doubt and existential dread about being self-employed. So, doing this really does make a difference and is an easy little act of support that you can take in just a minute or two by either going to Spotify and leaving 5 stars for the show, or writing a written review and leaving 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts. Or if you're a real overachiever, you could do both. Well, now, that would be kind of crazy. Crazy awesome, obviously. Like, that would be super ideal. Would love that. If you're writing a review, though, Just be sure to only use G-rated words, because despite the fact that this is a podcast about sexuality and all that good stuff, the platforms censor words like sex and won't actually show your review. Lame. Anyway, you're gonna do it right now while I wait? Oh yeah, no, awesome, great. That's like, yeah, great idea. May as well just like quickly click that 5-star button before we get on with it and, forget or whatever. I mean, life just kind of gets in the way sometimes, so I totally agree. It would be best to just do it now while we're talking about it, while we're on the topic. Totally. Yep. Oh, I can feel those 5-star reviews rolling in. Fuck yeah. All right. Well, thank you much, Lee. You're a total gem, and I'll let you get back to the episode now. Love ya.
Hey, I've got one more TMI that I think might be good
Yeah.
for my final one, if you're interested in hearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so you might remember it was a couple of months ago. I'm pretty sure I filled you in on it. I was asking you about fasting before tripping balls, and yeah, so I ended up fasting for 3 days before taking acid, and I abstained from like all kinds of things. Like I wasn't smoking or eating or like jacking off. I think I've been on the Noah Jack for a while, actually. It might have been like a couple of weeks or something. And so I take the acid, I do an acid nap, and drop it and go lie down and then like wake up tripping. And I just woke up into this like, it was like pure fucking sexuality. Like it was so visceral. I couldn't actually get out of bed because I was just writhing orgasmically for like, it was like the better part of the trip. Like, I mean, it was at least like an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours. Wow. I was just like, oh my God, like definitely going to do that shit again. It was so amazing. And so I got up and like this trip was just fucking straight to the dome. It was insane. I could hardly do anything. I was weak as a kitten. I was just floating around the house like a cloud. Completely beautiful. And then as it got into the evening and things started kind of winding down, I was just like rampantly horny. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to curate a bit of a vibe for myself. I went in the bathroom, which is like a really amazing bathroom. It was all very open and just nice. And I put on some like, what do you call it? Just audio pornography. That was this sort of, it was actually really amazing. I was kind of taken aback because it's not usually my bag, but I was like, we're going to go like sensory deprivation on this and like really hone in on the, and so I've had this electric razor for some time. It's a complete fucking gimmick. It's just like your normal kind of disposable razor, except that it's got a button on the handle that makes it vibrate. And I think it is designed to just rope people into, people see it and they're like, the vibrating handle, hey? And there's like a little bit of intrigue in that. Like, I think with anything that vibrates, there's a bit of like, maybe it has other applications. And I think that's maybe what motivated me to get it, because it was like, why would I need my fucking razor to vibrate? This is completely stupid. And so I got it and I was like, all right. I'd kind of been using it in an external way, like a couple of times. I was just like, take the actual razor part off, obviously, because that's unsafe.
Thank God.
But so I was sitting down, like in this kind of open plan shower, just completely filled the room with steam, like closed the window, no exhaust fan. I was home alone. And put on this audio porn and just had this hectic mazz and I wasn't intending to ejaculate. I was going to keep holding it. But then I got the handle of this electric razor, and in this I was so seized by the energy of the moment that I was just like, fucking, oh my God, I want it all the way in there. And I like put it all the way in. And I think it could have been my first experience with like stimulating my prostate, this fucking like thing like right in there, and just fucking came so much everywhere. It was like an instant thing, just like pushing a button. It was completely fucked. And I'm just there in the dark. Like I can feel like my own cum all over me. Slept up as much of it as I could.
Obviously.
and turn the lights on. And that's my final story of the day.
Love that for you. Your first anal-gasm. That's dope. That sounds like an all-round, very orgasmic few hours. I mean, whoa. You were maxing out on the pleasure there. I'm happy for you. And do you think you're going to like do more butt stuff soon then? Has that opened a door for you? A back door?
Oh. Maybe. Like I actually, like that reminds me that I was like, I should get a butt plug and kind of explore that sort of stuff. It sort of didn't. It's like it didn't open the door. Like it didn't fling the door open, to expose all the possibilities within. It was more like the door opened sufficiently for me to be like, okay, I'm sure there's some possibilities in there. Not seized by it. I think that like that experience, it was amazing, but it's not really what I want from, like how instantaneous it was.
Yeah.
Like I prefer to be kind of riding a wave, and it was pretty much just like, boom, you're there. So maybe like there's ways of kind of approaching it more gently. Like I think that I just went straight for the button with something that would just fucking hit it and like give it a good fucking, give it a red hot go. And maybe like there's gentler ways to approach it. But yeah, definitely interested in exploring, but also not so interested that I instantly went and got a bunch of things to put in my anus aside from the razor.
I mean, start with like the low cost option, which is probably just some more veggies. And then if you really get a taste for it, then invest. Whoa,
a radish.
sick. Yeah.
Like a long radish or a stumpy carrot.
I reckon you can get a carrot with like just get some of the odd bunch carrots because they got funny shapes, and that could be a good place to start. Anyway, we can talk about that off air. Hey, me again. If you'd like to support the potty and you've already given it 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening on, I want to mention that you can also buy some dope merch from my website and get yourself a Labia Lounge tote, tee, togs. Yep, you heard that right. I even have Labia Lounge bathers. Or a cute fanny pack if that'd blow your hair back. Or if fashion isn't your passion, you can donate to my Buy Me a Coffee donation page, which I actually call Buy Me a Soy Chai Latte, because I will be the first to admit I'm a bit of a Melbourne cafe tosser like that. And yes, that is my coffee order. So you can do a once-off donation or an ongoing membership and sponsor me for as little as 3 fat ones a month. Every bit helps because it's not cheap to put out a sweet podcast into the world every week out of my own pocket. So I will be undyingly grateful if you support me financially in this way. And if you like, I'll even give you a mental BJ with my mind from the lounge itself, which is at this early stage in Double L history, just the spare bedroom at my house. Anyway, I'll pop the links in the show notes. Later. I'm just conscious of time. I feel like we're going to have to do another in the future because I have heaps more, but I reckon we should wrap it up there. And I'm actually also doing another TMI episode with Kat Hennessy, who I've been on her podcast, Cat's Out of the Bag, a couple of times now, and we're going to do like a double eppy. And I'm sure she's got a whole bunch of stories, but yeah, I wouldn't mind making this like a regular thing. So collect all your stories, Max, and all of you listeners, start sending me in some fodder. I've still got a few here that I didn't read out that I'll save for next time that beautiful, open-minded listeners have sent me in. I'm so grateful, and it's been such a laugh reading people's stories. It's just the best, I feel like. It's just peak career moment when you're like, sick, I've got these strangers, and friends are like sending me really personal and graphic stories to read on my podcast where I get to swear and talk about sex, and it's super dope. So very grateful, very, very much enjoyed myself. Thank you so much, Max. That was fire. I think we nailed that.
That was really fun. I love this topic of conversation. So like, if you want to have me back to talk about this shit again, I'd be so keen. It's got me all razzed. I was like a little anxious at first, and now I'm just like, oh my God, like I could fucking talk about this shit all day. Well, maybe not. I think I actually need a nap now because this has all been very exciting.
So exciting. I know. I'm potentially. I need it. The real reason I'm calling it here, because I'm not one to shy away from a stupidly long podcast episode, as you know. But I actually am getting close to the point of needing to piss in my tea mug. So I'm gonna go.
Time to wash your hair.
Yeah. Sick. Yeah, well, let's definitely do another one. And everyone collect your stories, because this is heaps of fun, and it's destigmatizing stuff and giving you a lol at the same time, which is my favorite. Very, very on brand. Cool. Love ya. Gonna stop recording, and yeah, thanks, Max.
My pleasure. Love you too. Thanks for having me.
And that's it, darling hearts. Thank you for stopping by the Labia Lounge. Your bum groove in the couch will be right where you left it, just waiting for you to sink back in for some more double L action next time. And in the meantime, if you'd be a dear and subscribe, share this episode, or leave a review on iTunes, then you can pat yourself on the snatch, because that, my dear, is a downright act of sex-positive feminist activism. And you'd be supporting my vision to educate, empower, demystify, and destigmatize with this here podcast. Also, I'm always open to feedback, topic ideas that you'd love to hear covered, or guest suggestions. So feel free to get in touch via my website at freyagraph.com, or say hey over on Insta. My handle is Freya_graph_YMT, and I seriously hope you're following me on there, because damn, we have fun. Anyway, later labial legends. I'll see you next time.